Hey!
Welcome back to the channel. In this week's video, you're going to see us making a sign for ourselves, and this sign will have the logo of from our business. And we're making it because we're going to a trade show in Las Vegas, and we wanted to have this sign set up in our booth. And once we're done with that, we'll hang it up in our shop. So we're back at the table here. This is some 16 gauge, and we're just cutting out the letters for the sign. This is going to be a 3-layered sign where it's wood on the background and then the metal pieces that are painted red, white, and blue overlaying on the metal. Now this is 16 gauge, it's cutting at 250 inches a minute, 45 amps, and the table makes short work of this. Now we start all of our designs on Fusion 360, and once we come up with those designs, we're able to process the information, turn it into a G-code, run it through Mach 3, send it to the table, and let it go to work. Now after everything's cut out, we're back at our bench with this magnetic clamp, and we're just cleaning up all the cuts, taking the flap disc to it, and then to finish it all off, we'll take the burnisher wheel and burnish the front of these, which leaves a really nice finish. We're going to paint it anyway, but it leaves a really nice even finish. Now you can see there's 2 A's and 2 M's, and that's because the M is red over white and the A is blue over white. There's that burnisher tool, and it has a wheel that goes just in one direction and leaves a really nice finish. Now we're just laying out all the letters here so we can get a good coat of primer on them. And because the final color of these are all going to be white, we use a white primer. Makes it real simple. So while that primer is drying, I'm here at the table saw and I got to rip this board down. And what we're using for the back is just a laminate flooring material that's already finished. Makes it real simple to do. Looks real nice. It's already pre-finished. We don't have to mess around with any of that. And it's real easy to work with. So once we get the one side ripped off, because we're ripping off that tongue and groove edge, I'm just cutting them the length there. And then the last one on the other side, we will cut that edge off too. So we have a nice square edge all the way around. Now the backboard, that's just a piece of 1/4 inch. And you can see I'm just finish nailing that laminate floor right to that board. And I just finish nail it around the perimeter because we're gonna add a piece of trim that goes around the outside that's gonna cover up any holes that you might have seen. Now when I went to my home store to pick this out, these were an open box deal. I don't know, something was wrong with the box, so I was able to get all the pieces that I need here at a really steep discounted price. Then back to the saw, I'm just cutting off that edge off the last one. putting it all together and finishing it off. Now we got everything painted, and I don't know what happened to the video of us painting it. Sorry I didn't make it to this video. But everything's painted, and here we are just laying out the sign, just seeing what it's going to look like. Making sure everything's going to fit just the way that we thought it would. Once it's all laid out, just lay down some masking tape, and that's going to let us know for when we go to apply all of these exactly where it needs to go. Now we're going to stand off the big letters, so we're just taking the piece of, or some pieces of 1/2 inch material that we had, just some scraps, and we're adhering them to the back of these. So those big letters will stick up off the back of that, or off the front of that wood, just up by 1/2 inch. Now just double check on the layout on everything before we glue it all up. You see, I just took a pencil and just marked the corner of all those big letters. Just a little cheat mark for me. Then applying some all-purpose adhesive to the back of them and setting them back down right where I picked them up from. Once everything's got glue behind it, just set some long straight boards on there, a little bit of weight, and let it sit for a few hours to dry up. So with that all dry and set, I can put the third layer on, the red M over the white, and then the blue A. Now I'm measuring and cutting the trim to go around the outside of this. Now the sign was already heavy enough, so we found some foam or plastic outside corner molding that we used to trim the outside of this, and it turned out real nice. Sometimes that foam or plastic trim, when you cut it, it almost melts instead of cuts. So it'll cut through, but then it leaves a little melted edge, and you just gotta take and just peel that off. Sometimes you take a razor knife and just cut that little edge off. And with all the pieces cut out, I just took some liquid nails and just some standard adhesive and just gluing it to around the edge of that thing, using some orange clamps to hold it on while it dries. You can't really nail or staple that stuff because it's so thin, so soft. Anything that you try to do, just going to go right through it. So really, your only option or best option is just to use an adhesive and glue it. Once this thing's all glued up and done, we flip it over and we have some heavy-duty hangers that we put on the back, so we can hang this thing from our beam in our shop, and we'll hang it from our display and our booth at the trade show. And there it is, all clamped up. And there it is, hung up on the beam. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.